Excuse me.
Will you help me with the layer 0?
Layer 0.
That's good, right?
So 8 p.m. is supposed to update, so we might be interrupted, but it should be fine. So I rehearsed this in 24 minutes, so we should be perfectly on time. And thanks, Marco, for giving me the spot. Shall I get started, or do we want a minute of break, or you tell me?
Break afterwards.
Okay, so I brought today how to create a Rails 8 responsive app with Gemini and RubyLLM. And I'm going to show you like a little demo today, and hopefully you will have some questions. Half of the room knows me. For the rest of the room, I'm Riccardo. I'm a Googler. I've been in Switzerland for 12 years, and still my German is crap. And I'm a developer advocate for Google Cloud. Before AI hype, I used to talk about reliability, SRE, operations, DevOps, and that's what I love the most, together with math and jogging sometimes. But now I only do AI, because they pay me for that. And my favorite language is Ruby, but my manager is not very happy that I do Ruby, so I always try to find a way to put Ruby in my project. For example, how about I demonstrate this multi-agent architecture? But it would be lame if it's only Python. How about one in Python and one in Ruby? And my manager like, clever! Actually, my director said, super clever. So my manager like, okay, I know what you've done there. So I'm going to present it. This is very quick. My silly application, which demonstrates the usage of RubyLLM. A little bit about MCP. Anybody knows what is MCP? Okay, half of the room, or maybe you're just shy, and a couple of demos. This is, of course, a big Ruby in Balizellen. So, about this application, does anybody know how good I am as a front-end developer? How good is my JavaScript? Does anybody know?
Emojis.
Okay, emojis, exactly. My front end stops at emoji. With the Mac, it's Command Shift space, and I can do all the emojis that I want. So this is my app. In my word, this is the best front end I ever built, because I didn't build it. I just vibe coded it. I actually find that vibe coding is really good for front end development, and I like the back end. I do it myself. Thank you very much. But having it automatically put some random tailwind tags that I don't know what they mean, love it. So I tell you what responsive means for me, because maybe you know better. For me, responsive means that there is some JavaScript shit behind that makes things magically appear. Is this a good definition of it? I don't know. Maybe Marco has a better definition of it. So let me start with RubyLLM. RubyLLM is a gem. 3 colleagues of mine came to me, you're the Ruby guy. Yes. You totally need to see it. One of them was Guillaume, which is a Java guy, but he invented the Java Ruby-inspired language called, what's it called? Groovy. So he's the inventor of Groovy, so he loves Ruby, right? Because he was inspired by it for Groovy. So RubyLLM was a gem that came to my attention by 3 people pinging me in the array of 2 days. Developed by a Sicilian guy based in Berlin, which I hope to meet in a couple of weeks in Berlin. And it's a minimalistic gem that has very few dependencies. They're mostly in development. He says that only fast HTTP. What is the kind of the library for doing HTTP curves and stuff is the only real dependency of it. And you can do chat, what's in this image or audio. You can generate images, the usual LLM stuff that you might want to do. You can also do chunking. So you know when you use Gemini, ChatGPT, or Claude, and you say, explain me relativity, single string. And it starts like blah, 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 blah. And usually when you have a web front end, you expect it to give you all the blah and all the paragraph as soon as they come, right? This is called chunking, at least in the context of LLMs, because then you usually use chunks for embeddings and other stuff. So the word chunk is quite strongly semantically taken for LLMs. You probably would use a different word for front-end development. But the cool part is that this gem is made with Rails in mind. I am a friend of Andrei Bondarev, who created the previous most popular gem, which was LangChain RB. LangChain RB is anybody has played with LangChain RB before? Yeah? So LangChain RB is a bit more bloated because it imports all OpenAI and Gemini and everything. And it doesn't care about Rails. It's a pure Ruby gem. Actually, Andrei was telling me that he wanted to monetize the Rails connections. He's like, oh, why I don't give the gem for free, and then the Rails connection, I will do it as a consultancy company, which is his company is a Rails company. And I think you choose your business model because you need to pay your salary somewhat, right? So the configuration is just like config.api key. You can take it from Gemini, Anthropic, OpenAI, Grok, etc. It works with Olama, so you can attach whatever you want. The part that I like the most is that you inject an act as message in the message class and an act as chat in the chat class, and boom. Of course, you need to Rails generate a couple of migration, and you're done. There is a single page Rails integration. It took me, which I'm probably not the best developer in the room for sure, it took me 3 or 4 hours to get it running. The only thing you need to know is that it only works with Postgres because the database creation has a lot of weird keys and constraints at the database level that are set up for Postgres. I'm pretty sure that if you're a database genius, you can take the same semantics and bring it to SQLite or MySQL and make it work. It's just that the documentation for Postgres. So I tried SQLite in Rails development and I failed. So I said, like, fuck it. I'm just using Postgres for everything. Let's solve this problem another day, and I never did. So, okay, first I'm going to show you the most beautiful front end that I ever built. So suck it up.
Wow.
I know, and I said, you can see because I told Gemini, can you do something a bit more blue and purple with the colors of Gemini? Yes, but can you do a button which has this gradient from blue and purple, blue and indigo? And apparently you can do it. I wouldn't know how to do it. Yellow is my favorite color, which explains this. So I'm going to demonstrate a new chat. So I don't know, tell me something that stands out about RubyLLM. So as you can see, it's this is the demo part 1. As you can see, that for you is like, duh, I could do it in half an hour of my time with any gem in the world. For me, as a front-end incapable person, is something that I tried with LangChain RB for a year and I failed all the time. I actually said to Andrei, let's create like a sample Rails application that people can just clone that does this, and nobody has ever done that. So this to me is a wow moment. Maybe for you it's not, but when I saw this, I called my wife, look, and she's like, duh. But for me it was great. And as you can see, I'm so stupid that I cannot even cancel this after it's done. So definitely it's perfectible, right? You can see that the new chat here on the left is left untitled, and this is important for the plot twist that you will see in a second. Which brings us to the second part of the talk, which is about MCP. Who knows what is MCP? You want to give a definition to everybody? Somebody both knows it and is not shy?
It's a protocol for client-server interaction for AI models.
Bravissimo, bravissimo. It's just like an API for LLMs. So it's something that an LLM calls to a server. The server provides some functionality, returns an array of things. It returns a number of capabilities, which usually are prompts, tools, and resources. I noticed that if I explain this to you for 10 minutes, you will be probably more confused. So I'm going to show you what it does with a beautiful front end that I didn't develop. And so a couple of boring slides. What is MCP? It's an open protocol that standardizes how applications talk to each other in the context of LLMs. And it's considered like a USB-C, kind of like a universal plug, right? This is the idea, so you can attach anything. This is a slide I particularly like. So before, you would call to your, ChatGPT, Gemini, whatever, and you say, well, I need to call a Google Drive application or a GitHub stuff or some Slack stuff, and ZLM would have to kind of manage all of these API calls from within. The idea of MCP, which is from Anthropic, November 2024, so from 7 months ago, The idea is let's create something, let's call it MCP protocol, where this something talks to these people and exposes an API, say, you want the Google Drive thingy? Here you are, you want something, and it's all encapsulated into this service. So it's like a client server, right? So this is the server, and the client that invokes it should be the LLM. To be fair with you, clients are residing not into your LLM agent, but actually residing in your Visual Studio Code, in your client, and we are going to see it in a moment. So these are made up number. All of this is fake except one, unfortunately. So you have a gazillion MCP server and only 2 or 3 MCP clients. So on the servers, you can just go on GitHub Model Context Protocol /servers, and this list you can scroll for a whole morning. This is the letter G, because I was curious about the Google Sheets, Google Vertex. I was interested in knowing my stuff. And this is the letter G. So imagine how it goes from A to Z, okay? MCP client, I would say Claude plays gioca in casa. Claude plays home because they invented it. So of course Claude is the best interconnected, is the first that came. And if you want to know what MCP smells like, you need to use Claude Desktop, I suppose. Not that I ever used it, because you need to pay for this. Visual Studio Code is able to call it, but only with Copilot. I tried to install some extension, but with just Visual Studio Code and some MCP extension, you cannot do it. So you need to have Copilot call it. Google is working on something which we launch next Wednesday, but I cannot tell you about this. It's also supported by Client, by Cursor, by Windsurf, so by a bunch of stuff, by JetBrains. So it is getting more and more traction. But to my experience, having just a little MCP client that you just double click and you play around with stuff is not that easy. Probably because unless you have an LLM, it's not that easy to interact with it. The exception being, I added a lot of slides. The exception being, wait 3 slides for it. So let me tell you the negatives about MCP. It was built without security in mind. So yes, you can add a password, but that's it. You can just add a password that you pass into the headers of the curve, and that's it. If you really want a secure version, I'm pretty sure somebody will come up with an MCP v2 where security and enterprise security will be available, or otherwise you can think of the A2A protocol, agent-to-agent protocol, which is actually at the LLM level. So agent talks to an agent with this protocol has enterprise security built in. They are interchangeable. I like to think of them as like layer 3 and layer 4 of the network. So they have different, they are at different levels, although they both do connection. And how would you use both of them? Imagine that you have an agent A and agent B. Both of them are going to call their MCP servers, I don't know, local data sources or some external APIs. You have another database, I don't know, you have a Renuo internal knowledge base for how to code in Ruby and stuff like that. It could be MCP server A, etc. And this agent is I know everything about Renuo, right? And this is, I don't know, it's an agent which could be something like, I don't know, I take the part of your customer 1, 2, 3, and they have some requirements, and maybe the requirements are in a database or something, and they could interact with each other. So this could be a possible architecture, but I don't want to confuse you too much. Let me tell you what pisses me off about MCP, is that it has 3 transports. It's not the JSON RPC, which is a bit probably naive in my opinion, but the 3 transports supported, which are standard input-output, is like execute just a script locally. I give you the input and I receive the output, and you just you just put into the VS Code the path to the binary. Weird. And I'm a network guy, so I think everything should be like an endpoint on a TCP port, probably, or maybe UDP. And the thing that they created, the server-side server-sent event, SSE, was dead on arrival, so now it's been deprecated a few months ago. And now it's been changed into the streamable HTTP, which is like the V2. It's backward compatible, so you shouldn't even notice, but if you read about SSE, it's already deprecated since April, so since 2 months ago. So throughout this solution, words that I invented, are insecure. The first, because everybody's using it through an npx install, so you don't know what you're downloading. There's no way to say trust this CA or trust that. It's just an npx install or something random from the internet, right? It's the typical npm philosophy, which I don't understand. because I'm not a JavaScript guy. And the network solution have are vulnerable to DNS rebinding attacks. So somebody telling you, hey, actually, example.com or renewal.com is actually me. Take this information from me. But I think they're working on it. So I don't want to offend MCP. I think it's awesome. I just think it's about prime time. Probably by December, we will have a version where all of these kind of problems are a bit fixed. And now I'm going to show you the little demo on MCP where you're going to see it by yourself. If you're interested, unless you say like, Riccardo, this is not Ruby, I don't give a shit. You're interested, okay. So there is an NPX that you can randomly install from the internet called Model Context Protocol /inspector, which I love. I love it. So let me try. So there is a reason why I'm doing this, because you can see the whole screen, yes. This is actually since last week. Before it wasn't like this. It has an authenticated URL like this, and if you just call the normal port 6274, it will not be able to do anything. So it's cool. It's basically like a self-given password. And now you see standard IO, it's like local SSC, which is the one that I'm using because I'm so April 2025, and the Stimulate HTTP, which is the new one, right? So, and now I'm calling my Ruby on Rails application where I built an SSC endpoint for MCP. This is super cool. Let's see if it works. Oh, yes, it works. Because I had to allow list some IPs, I was afraid it wouldn't work here. Okay, so as you can see, prompts doesn't work because this gem doesn't support prompts yet. Apparently prompts are for losers. But it has tools. I can list the tools, and these are functions that I created, right? So there is list users, because I have device, create user, because why wouldn't it allow you to create a user randomly on the internet without password, right? I mean, it seems very appropriate, right? Chat list with ugly titles. Do you remember the chat list with the new chat something? Do you see? I call them ugly titles because it's my demo. Do you have a problem with that? So I just lost it. Okay, so if I run the tool, it gives me an array of the chats with the ID with an ugly title. It grabs new chat. Now I can do chat auto rename. This is the only intelligent tool in all of this stupid stuff. This is going to take all of the stupid titles and call Gemini to summarize what we just did. Raise turbo chat URL explanation and user specific implementation. I don't know what it is, but if I do reload, Valiselle and rapid transformation Suburba Hub. Ta-da! So the title has been just renamed as a job because I'm too stupid to use raise jobs. At least in localhost it's quite easy, but in production it's a bit more difficult unless you have Redis and stuff. So, you know, this is just like a click away. And I have an app metadata which gives you a silly array of important environment variable. And this is something that if you're using VS Code with Copilot, you can actually say, hey, do you have the app metadata for my stuff? And if you're putting in the settings.json this a link to your SSC server, you can do it. So why did I show you this? Because I started talking about MCP, like doesn't have anything to do with Ruby. There is a gem that allows you to add and to bake MCP into your application, and you could actually export some functionality, wrap it with some password that you just put in here. The password could be something that, like a password you give it on the kind of connection, or it could be like a header in the curl that you, like an authenticated header that it gets added automatically. So you put server side password Riccardo, and client side you put header Riccardo, and it just works, something like that. What else? I think, did I show you the gem that you need to install it? Because it was at the beginning. So a little note about this. I used fast MCP because when I did this demo, it was April, May, and it was the best gem on the planet. The official Anthropic people didn't care enough about Ruby to get the MCP gem out there. They had the code, but they never pushed it into a gem. And so I was like, guys, shall I do it? If you look at the like, there is Riccardo say, hey, I just registered MCP_Riccardo. Would you like me to do it? Because MCP was actually taken by them. And so I started working with this, and everybody worked with this since April and May. And now these guys have started taking it seriously. So now if you install the gem MCP, and just MCP, just recently in the last couple of weeks, you have the gem and it supports prompts. I just didn't want to rewrite the whole the whole demo, which maybe will fail somewhere else, but I'm just telling you, if you start tomorrow, consider also the official MCP gem, because I have a feeling that people will converge there, because that's supported by Anthropic, and I think they have all the interest that that gem will not suck, if you know what I mean. But at the moment, Fast MCP, as of a couple of weeks ago, Fast MCP was, I spent a month to understand what was the best. I tried them all. It was the most feature complete. Okay, I think I'm done. Now I have a little selfish question for you, which is, I proposed to Euruco to do a little code lab based on this Rails application. So question number one, if you were at Euruco on the day before, would you care to do it? Or is like, I prefer to do something else? I don't know, raise your hand if you think like, yeah, I would do something like this, or...
Since I know you.
Yeah, just because I'm a funny guy. No, and sorry, maybe this is a poorly phrased question because you're just being polite, but okay, let me, the second is more actionable. If I did something like that, at which point would you start the code lab? By cloning the app that works, or by cloning a brand new Rails, DHH Rails 8, and then bring into this, knowing that it might fail? So would you like to spend 2 hours bringing from zero to working, or get a working app and doing some magic on top of it? Second?
I think first one probably, because if it's a magical app, it's very hard to really understand what you need, and you have to figure out your
Yeah, the first you walk home that you're able to do it yourself. With the second, you probably can do a lot more fun stuff in less time, right? Given infinite time, they're both meaningful, right? It's probably in a couple of hours. I think you can barely get from zero to this working version, right? Without some balance, because there are a lot of little details here and there that took me a while to figure out. So I need to reverse engineer them. And what are the most interesting part that you would put in such a code lab? Like, I mean, what is the part that you would like to see the most? I don't know, the DB and ORM part, like you're chatting with it and you do a Rails console and you're seeing stuff, or the MCP part, because I could, where is it? Give me a second. cd git cd Rails 8 turbo chat code punto. Sorry, I speak Italian to myself. There are a lot of interesting parts in here. For example, the MCP is all under app tools, list user, chat author and name and stuff. And it's made in a way that if you inherit from application tool, automatically will be loaded as a tool. Similarly for resources, if you inherit from application resources, it will automatically add it to the resource of the MCP server, the thing that I showed you before, although I didn't show you the resources. So this is an interesting part. The config initialization has some interesting initialization to be done to make it work with Gemini or OpenAI or whatever. So I just wonder, or maybe it's on the DB migration, like the creation.
Is that function, is that the equivalent of function calling with OpenAI, when you just showed the tool?
Yes.
I think that's pretty cool that you can kind of just plug in functions into this and then use them.
I totally agree.
If you do this with OpenAI, it's a little more.
Yeah. So
yourself with OpenAI, it's a little more cumbersome. So I think that's pretty cool.
I agree. To me, that if you ask me, the funniest thing to do is this. It's I don't know, chat list, like think of like list user, it's just user all.map, and then I just select ID, name and email, because you don't want to have passwords and stuff, right? And you add a to JSON, and like this is your function, right? And this is the description that the tool uses, because if you're not familiar with tool calling, the explanation of how the tool works is more important than the function. Like, this is a black box to him, but this is what it knows, what it uses to decide what is the best tool for what you ask it to do. So if you say, what is the capital of France? It will look, list of users. Probably not, right? And like, oh, list the capital by city. Oh, that's it, right? So it uses the description to infer what is the best tool on the table. And the tools on the table are list user, create user, chat list, chat author name, which is the magical thing that I showed you, and this silly app metadata, which is this big JSON file that I have in a helper somewhere else. So yeah, I agree the tool is interesting. If you know how to use it with OpenAI or with Gemini or Anthropic, it's a nice way to kind of put them on the table easily, right?
This is really clean when you have them there in this module, and
I agree with you. That is
cool, yeah.
that is
I would
absolutely
be very interested in more.
okay. That's good feedback for me. And I think I stole too much.
Did you use AI to figure out if it's an ugly title or not?
No, it's a regex.
Okay.
It's a simple regex. It starts with new. I refactored in a way quite elegantly. So if I change it, like it both create an empty thing with a new chat and it detects it with new chat. But of course, if you migrate it, you don't get the old one, so it's not perfect. But yeah, no, it's a stupid regex.
Does the gem you use support resumable streaming?
Say it again, sorry?
Does the gem you use support resumable streaming? So if you stop, like close the tab or something, then go back to it, does it continue streaming?
You're talking about the stream of MCP or something else?
Tool use or just text in general?
I don't know. I really don't know. I can. So are you talking about the RubyLLM and the
Yes.
chunking, or RubyLLM resumable streaming? Of course, yes. What a stupid question. I don't know, it seems like it. I have to say the documentation is pretty cool. It's pretty good. And the Rails integration is the one I was showing you before. I don't know, does that answer your question? Because
Yeah, mostly, yeah, probably.
this is how to do, these are the migration to create a chat, a message, etc. And the beautiful is that you start the chat and it persists the chat object, the model object. You can add something. You can say the chat, do I like this chat? Or is it, what color is it? You can just add whatever to the, you can extend the model, whatever, for whatever use case you have, for example. I put, for example, the model, it's already here, sorry, the model ID. And I added a description of the chat, which I would piggyback from Gemini once the chat is at least 2 things long. It will summarize the chat into it, so I can statically get it. And if it's empty, I know it's empty, I calculate it. If it's not empty, I calculate it. So I don't over-calculate it, if you know what I mean. Yeah, so that's it. I think I stole too much of your time. So any questions or?
I have one question off topic maybe. I tested a lot of AI models just with Bash, and which models of Google are free? The 2.5 models don't seem free. Some of them, if you do a
The
model list,
2.5, when it came out, it was completely free. I would assume that every time we launch something new,
it's free.
It's free, and then you start paying for it, like, I don't know, after a couple of months or something.
But the 2.0 is still free. One of them is still free, I feel, or none of them is free.
The 2. I think.
None of the Google APIs are free. I thought one of the Gemini APIs are still free.
2.5 Flash is free still.
2.5 Flash,
Yeah,
okay.
I would say the 2.0. I think they are not free anymore, but there are a couple of 2.5 which are free at the moment.
And why do they leave the 2.5 free?
Because it's the last one. We want adoption.
It's okay. So the best one is always
It's kind of like if you think about it, like by keeping the last free, the last in terms of time, we kind of force you to try the new things. Whereas if you leave 2.0 free forever, people stop at the 2.0 and never try the 2.5. I guess this is my explanation, the one that I give myself. Because we are giving for free something which is more powerful and more costly to us than the previous one. So if you think about it, it's not a money thing. It's more like getting out there. And I have to tell you, the 2.5 to me is pretty magical. I'm spending 45 minutes tomorrow to talk just about 2.5 tomorrow in Lausanne for a presentation. It's pretty sweet. The coding that he does is pretty good. Not perfect, makes some mistakes, but still quite impressive.
It's like Claude or...
It's on par with Claude 3.8, right? They say slightly better, but again, I'm not the guy to tell you. So, but I would say the best coding are Claude 3.8 and Gemini 2.5 at the moment. Yeah.
What do you think of Mistral?
I tried it last year.
Okay,
So
that's what you don't like.
I was very impressed in the past, and then I got a bit lost. I was using the Mistral on Llama, and it was cool, but like it wasn't like wow. I would have preferred, I don't know, Llama for that, for Llama 3.2, for example, to Mistral. So.
And one more question. What's your take on DeepSeek?
I think DeepSeek took a lot of stage in January, and now I think it's a very interesting model because it's the only MIT licensed strong model. So I would say it's a very interesting. It's very interesting, I would say, but it doesn't admit that Tiananmen Square happened. So it's a bit weird. I tried it myself because I couldn't believe it. So it's a bit weird.
But it's worse in coding than like Gemini 2.5 or Claude. It's not as good in code, huh?
I think so. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't tried it for coding. I just played with it like 5 minutes to ask about Square Tiananmen and some things about Trump. I was just asking political questions to see if he was refusing to answer. You know, somebody said it doesn't do it, so I was like, let me see if it's real, if it's just a meme. So, no more question? I will sit down or... Okay, thanks for listening.